Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Mile High Game Guys board gaming podcast. I'm your host, Adrian.
I'm Zach.
And I'm Jeff.
And we're coming to you with another episode of our board gaming podcast that we talk about board games
Yes.
and things related to board games
Yeah.
occasionally.
Mostly not things related to board games.
Yeah.
I feel like it's mostly board games. The banter gets a little out there, but it stays mostly. Well, what is going on here?
A mostly board game podcast.
Yeah.
Indeed.
It cooled down here a bit, which is good.
It did. You wouldn't know it in the studio.
That's true.
As it is still, that went off, and I'm not going to make it beep noises at us again, but it was like 79.
Yeah. We do have the fan on here, just in case that's what you're hearing. If you hear it.
We'll see.
Yeah. If it's too noticeable, then we won't do it again, but we'll see.
And we'll just be hot.
Yeah, and we'll just be hot.
And it'll be your fault.
So hot.
So hot right now.
Mm-hmm.
That Hansel. All right. Well, we got a decent amount of games to talk about this week, so we're gonna jump right into what we've been playing. We'll skip the banter, and we'll just do banter.
We
after.
had a solid 2 minutes of banter. So
Yeah.
I'm just saying that wasn't skipped.
I mean, the other day we had like 5 to 10.
Just saying.
You know,
it was not skipped.
it was not skipped, but it was light.
We're only extending it
I
by
know.
continuing.
That's why I'm
this
allowing
process.
this to happen.
Yeah. Well, and I don't on the show notes, I don't call it the pre banter because we called it the engagement period. And so that's what I've been calling it.
I love it.
I believe, did I coin
You did.
the engagement
Yes.
period? Okay.
Yeah.
This is where we suck people in with our stunning personalities.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah.
And it's also the prime time for me to find something to make the image for the episode on. So that means the least amount of it that I have to listen to, the better for editing.
Great.
So, yeah.
Yeah, that's how editing works. You want to listen to as little as possible.
Uh-huh. Only the highest quantity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sure. I'll buy that. Why not? Moving on to board game stuff. We'll start with what we've been playing because that's where we always start our board game chat. First thing that we've played, right here over my shoulder on the stream, we did a stream of Clank this past Friday. It was just the three of us, as most of our streams have been. We haven't started bringing guests into the studio yet.
It'd be too hot for that.
Yeah, another body in here.
Besides
sounds
Megan that
nightmarish.
one time.
Yes.
Besides Megan that one time. But we did the 3-player stream of Clank. It went pretty good. We had a decent layout for the board. You could see the whole like main action board. Not a lot goes on there, but you can kind of walk through what's happening. And then I was able to get my whole hospital on the stream, which was nice. My player board, so people could kind of see what it looked like, what was going on off to the sides. We went for fairly different hospital strategies. I went for a 3-building build,
Mm-hmm.
which I don't often do. I usually do like 2. But I went for 3. It worked well for me in the end.
I tried to go for a high cost, but then like high time too, which did not work well for me in the end.
Mhm.
No, you had a lot of time. Jeff and I got the time reducers.
I would have been competitive for second. I would have been more competitive for second had I not fucked up my second and third action.
Yeah.
So, but
I mean, you were
really.
still only like 2 points away from
That's what I mean is that I would have been -1 to 1 point away from you.
Oh, I see.
If I didn't mess that up. So, because then it only let me have 3 patients at the end instead of 4.
Yeah.
So,
We all felt the pain of parking.
hence my fuck up.
Yeah.
Just because. And that's still something we got to check. Like many times during it was someone would be like, "Oh, I need to do for parking," and other people are like, "Oh, right, parking."
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's an easy one to miss.
Yeah.
If you don't do it right. But it was a good stream.
Mhm.
Went pretty quick. I think we finished the entire stream in about 2 hours.
Yeah.
Total playtime was less than 2 hours, which was nice. I won, so the curse is broken. I have won a game on the stream again.
Yep.
And Zach lost, which I think because you haven't won every other stream, but
I didn't.
or no, you lost pretty good on Dune, didn't you?
Oh, I was
Yes,
fourth on
he
June.
was dead
yeah.
last.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I either win or I get last. It's fine.
Okay,
It's
so that trend
Yeah,
continues.
yes.
All right, so what we really need is for you to get second and Jeff to lose and me to win, and then everything will have returned to normal
Not normal, no.
for the streams.
Jeff, you still got to win. I know you've won a couple, right?
Have I?
Streams in the maybe way in the past.
Yeah.
I don't think recently.
I don't.
I don't know. I'm still on starting soon on the stream. Whoops.
You won.
They could hear us, right?
Rap gods.
Yes.
I wonder. Yeah. Well, I know you haven't won anything since we started back up, but
Okay.
I feel like in some of the previous ones you've won.
Yeah, probably. I don't know.
We're just
Maybe.
gonna assume yes.
I mean, if nothing else, we've played cooperative games that we've won. So
oh, that's such a
maybe.
That's,
Have we? I don't know.
yeah. We did Arkham Horror. I think we won that one.
Sure.
no, we did not win our Arkham Horror.
Mansions of Madness. I don't know.
Or no, that's what I'm thinking of that we definitely
Yeah.
didn't win.
Yeah.
Arkham Horror, I can't remember if we did
I have
or if we
no
won.
recollection.
We did enough 2-player streams of War of the Worlds. You had to have won one of those, right?
No.
No.
Well, anyway.
It just gets sadder the more we think.
well, anyway,
Yeah.
we'll move. We'll
Moving
move on.
along. Moving along.
So that was Clinic that we streamed on Friday.
What do you think about it?
I still like Clinic. It is awfully fiddly, and the puzzle isn't. It's not like
The base game, because we played base game.
We played base game.
There's a lot of extensions that adds a lot of modules
Correct.
that we had the ability to use, but we didn't use any of them. So
Yeah, and I'm not sure how I feel about some of them. I feel, well, for one, I do feel like I still need to figure out a good base game strategy. Like, they have the level 3, like, height.
Mhm.
So your baseboard is ground floor and first floor, and then second, and then third. And I can regularly get to second floor.
Mhm.
I struggle to get to third. And that's like using the European model. I struggle to get to third or fourth in like the US style numberings, where the first floor, the ground floor is number 1.
Well, I think that's going to be the thing where you want to, instead of going for multiple buildings, or maybe just have like the 2 and you have like one small building and then you worry about one giant building or something like that.
And I think I need to double check the rules. I think that if you have a big enough base building and you build like 2 towers,
Mm-hmm.
the towers can be on each level separate things. So you could have like one tower be cardiology and one tower be, I don't know, ophthalmology. I can't remember what the 4 medicines that they had in there. Cardiology and ophthalmology are both ones.
Mm-hmm.
But
orthopedics.
orthopedics was the other one. Psychiatry was the 4th.
Mind stuff.
And then there is a 5th one that you
It's like
really
brain
only see.
surgery.
Brain
Yeah.
yeah.
You really only see it like 4.
So physical mind stuff. Got
Yeah.
it.
But yeah, I liked it. It helps that I won. I tend to do decently well at it. The spatial puzzle is appealing to me. I like spatial puzzles. So that's nice. So yeah, I liked it. I thought it was a good stream too.
Yeah. That was the first time I'd played it. And it definitely falls into that category of games that I'm like, I sort of see what this game is after the first play. Not to say that I would do a lot better on the second one, but it's like I see its blueprints and I can see how you can get better in it, but I don't have that much of an interest in doing that.
That's fair. I could see that.
Yeah. Maybe if there was enough of the modules or something to change it up. Distinctly, yeah, but otherwise I played it and I was like, okay, I get it. Moving on.
Fair enough.
What about you, Jeff?
Yeah, I'm kind of on that same page. It's fine, but there's other. I mean, if the modules are interesting, I would like to play it with some of those interesting modules. But the base game is continues to be like, it's fine.
But like on even on that shelf, like I'd much rather I would play Brass any day before I would play Clinic again. I think
because Brass is great.
It is. Yeah.
I want to play Zombies in Clinic just to see how weird that gets.
Gotcha.
That's probably the module I want to play the most right now. But so that was Friday during the stream was Clinic. Then Wednesday we had our Wednesday game nights that are back in swing here in Denver. We were at the Denver
Game
Lounge. I wanted to say Board Game Cafe, and I was like, that's
the
not
Game
a thing.
Lounge, the Denver Game Lounge.
Yeah, Denver Game Lounge.
Denver Game Lounge.
And so I had coordinated. So I got my copy of Oath earlier in the week, like Monday. And so I had already like punched it out and organized it and kind of like learned it. They did a fantastic walkthrough in it where you open things. It's one of those where like you open it, and it tells you like this pack of cards, don't open it till it tells you, don't open it till it tells you. And like in the rules, it even says like, hey, how do you like to learn the game? Do you like to learn visually? Go here and watch this video. Like, do you like to like watch it like on a video? Do you like to read super in-depth rules? Go to this other rule book and start reading from page 1. Do you like having the game explained to you in stages? Well, then keep reading where you're reading. And then it's like, do you like walking through and like learning as you go? Keep reading where you're reading, and it will walk you through the first turn for for each faction in a 4-player game. And so sure enough, it does that. And like, so I set it up with all 4 factions, and I played the first round basically of the game, walking through each faction, and it does a good job of being like, okay, so you're faction A, you're the yellow character in this one. So yellow character, draw these cards, do this, do this, do this. And a lot of times it's like, why, draw 2 cards. And it's like, why only 2 cards? Isn't the draw action 3 cards? And it's like, yes, but that second card you drew, you'll notice the back is different. That's because that's this card. And whenever you draw one of those, you stop drawing immediately and things like that. So it walks you through a lot of little nuances and rules.
That's
and I thought it did a really good job. It reminded me of like when you play a tutorial for like a board game app and how like it'll script you through a lot of stuff where it's like, hey, I'm not going to teach you everything. Like for now, let's learn how to do this action. So go and click here and do this and do that.
Yeah. Fog of Blood did a good job with that. There's another game I'm thinking of that I can't remember what it was that had a good intro scenario too that was built like that.
Yeah. So I really appreciated how the rule book had like 4 different ways to learn the game based on how you like it really understood that people learn things differently, which I thought was awesome. So I'd walked through it and everything, and we were talking about it in Slack, and we decided we wanted to do a game of it. So Chris Evans had gotten his and had already played, I think, with his family. And then Ryan had gotten his copy, and we were like, all right, well, let's do this thing. And initially at one point we had like 5 people who were going to play. And it's like, well, it's a 4-player game. But we have multiple copies. Maybe we'll split up, whatever. And then Chris was like, yeah, it could be like a 4 to 5 hour game for your first learning game. And so like half the crew was like, nope, we're out.
Especially at a game night, because then that's just going to increase that
by about 20 to 25%.
Yes. Yep. So after doing the little walkthrough thing, and like with Chris having played and Ryan having done the walkthrough, I felt like there was enough of an understanding of the key bits of how to play that we decided to go for it. Megan decided to join us because we went there early.
I saw that, yeah.
And that was part of it too, is like since we were able to go to game night early and start early, we felt comfortable trying it out.
And like teaching her, because she watch anything?
No.
Okay.
No, we had to teach Megan, and she had the option to drop out because like even in the tutorial it says like, if you're playing with 3 players, somebody just play 2 of the factions through the first walkthrough, and then once you've done that first walkthrough, just pick which one they don't want to play and take everything of it's off the board, and it's just out of the game, and you can just go from there. So I was telling Megan like, yeah, if you end up hating it or whatever, or you don't feel like continuing to play, you can just leave.
The game has a bailout point for you.
The game allows you to bail. But she's like, no, I'll learn it. I'll play it. So we played. Chris was the chancellor. We'd used the startups thing, which was great for walking through and teaching, especially for like teaching Megan, because especially since all 3 of the rest of us had done that walkthrough and we knew what to expect, we were able to go through it pretty quick while still explaining what the actions were to Megan, so that she understood what we were doing.
Each of the factions, they're not as unique as Root or anything like that.
Correct.
Right?
They're not unique.
Oh, okay.
Certainly not at the start out of the box. There is a little bit of asymmetrical start as it progresses because the game is kind of a legacy game. So, but the factions themselves, no, they're the same and they play the same. Okay. They follow the same rules.
It just so happens that like one person is the chancellor, like you said, like the overlord at the beginning, and then it goes from there. And the next game, whoever won the last time is the chancellor.
Yeah. Yep, correct. And that's one thing they recommend is like if you're going to play it at all like a campaign game, to try and always play with at least the winner of the last game in when you're playing your next one. But even then, you don't have to. You can just hand that to somebody new and be like, hey, in this game, you're the chancellor. You're like the son of whoever won last time or whatever.
And everyone's going to be gunning for you and trying to kick you off your throne. Enjoy.
Yep, have fun with that. The game, this was another one where my enjoyment of it was kind of all over the place.
Not you, but like just a
Yeah, I think it's kind of
squiggly
a.
line.
I think it was an N shape with
Okay.
like a little tail. Like,
It wasn't Jeremy Bearimy.
I don't know what that is.
That's fine.
The good place.
Everyone else is going to understand it.
Yeah,
And they'll enjoy my joke.
they will. Yeah.
I don't remember that.
Moving on.
Anyway,
It's never, but it's also
Forever.
and sometimes Sunday or Tuesday.
And eternity.
Yeah.
sure.
Little thing. This is what broke me.
You saw the time knife.
Yeah. Everybody's seen the time knife.
So it's like an N shape. So it went up and then it went down and it went back up and then it kind of stabled.
Gotcha.
And we'll see how I really end up feeling about it after more plays. I was really liking it up until a point that I got super teamed up on by
Yay!
Ryan and Chris Evans. And I'm sorry, I said Chris Evans was Chancellor. He wasn't. Ryan started as Chancellor.
Yeah.
And then he made Chris Evans a citizen in exchange for Chris Evans fucking me over, which worked very well for them. And it just left me in a spot where it's like, you guys are gonna win, and I don't know enough about how to play the game to do anything about it. Like, I was struggling to get
Just play
cards
better.
so I could get
Just
money
play
and
better.
stuff.
Just remember, service guarantees citizenship.
Yes, it does.
And that's the shit thing is I had a chance to become a citizen, and I was like, nah, I'm gonna go it alone. And then everybody else was like, nah, citizens. Even Megan was like, I have a card that makes me a citizen, whether or not the Chancellor wants me to be a citizen or not. So I'm a citizen now too. And I was like, great. I die alone as an exile. So Chris Evans ended up winning. He was able to pull the victory away from Ryan on like the second win condition for the Chancellor. And so yeah, his people became the new leaders of the free world. My people remain in exile. And so the start of the next game in Ryan's copy, there will be a Chancellor and 2 citizens and 1 exile. And they'll play from there. So, yeah, I liked it. I definitely want to play more. I'm already trying to decide if I want to try and get a group together to do it more like a campaign game where it's always the same people playing, so that we have a little bit more of a meta and a little bit more of a story going through the plays. Or if I just want to say, fuck it, I'll just play with whoever the fuck I play with, and I'll have my own story of how this all plays out in my head.
The forever exile. Got it.
Correct. Or I can just make myself Chancellor every time I start a new game, and no one will ever know any better, because I'll play with new players who don't know any better.
Oh, well, we'll just walk by every once in a while and be like, oh, Adrian, how weird it is that you are Chancellor again. But that race wasn't Chancellor last time.
See, but the Chancellor is just the Chancellor board. It doesn't signify a specific race, so they'd never know.
Oh, well, he's always going to be blue, so.
Chancellors are purple.
Well, now I can see why you don't want to be Chancellor. Because the exiles are blue. Oh, got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, so that went well. It didn't. I think it ended up taking like 3 to 4 hours. Not
Lengthy.
It was long, but it didn't feel very long. It moved at a good clip once we got going. There was a little bit of AP a couple times because there's just so much you can do. Like, there's technically no limit to the number of actions you can do. Like, you pay for them, and as long as you have the supplies to keep paying for actions, you can just keep taking fucking actions. And there's a lot of other like little minor actions and things that you can do that don't cost any supply and stuff like that. So, it is only a maximum of 8 rounds, and it can end much sooner. It can end as early as like round, I don't know, 2 or 3. And then it will end after round 8. And rounds 5, 6, and 7 have an increasing odds of it just ending if the Chancellor is currently the Oathkeeper, which is like this whole other little thing in there. And some of that stuff, when you start like talking about it, like, oh, is the Chancellor the Oathkeeper, or is a exile Oathkeeper? It really reminds me of like Ghostbusters. Like, I am the Gatekeeper. Like, I am looking for the Keymaster.
Admiral President comes to mind.
Yeah.
President Admiral.
So, but I liked it. I do look forward to playing it some more and like really solidifying my opinion of it, discovering if I love it or if I just like it fine.
I see.
After that, I moved on. There was a new guy who was there. His name was Jeth as well. His hair was not nearly as glorious as
It's
your
really
hair.
hard.
It's almost impossible for someone to
Nigh
match.
impossible.
Yeah.
Yes.
But he was talking to Mike Jones at the bar, and Mike Jones turned to talk to me, and I didn't recognize him because he was wearing a mask. and his mask made him completely unrecognizable. I didn't realize that about Mike Jones. Like, he was talking to me, and I was like, yeah, sure. And he's like, it's Mike Jones. I was like, oh, hey, Mike Jones. And then he's like,
well, you haven't shown up to his work enough over the last year.
Clearly not. Well, in the few times I have, he hasn't been there. So, but so he was like, hey, Jeff's new, we should play something. And Megan was like, well, you brought
Quest for
El Dorado. I was going to say Race for El Dorado, but Quest for El Dorado. It should be Race for El Dorado. It's a race game about getting to El Dorado. And I was like, yep, I sure did. So let's go play that. So the 4 of us went to go play the Quest for El Dorado. We played on a medium map, played with the full Hexes expansion.
Okay, yeah.
And all of that.
The curses.
Curses, yeah. Mike Jones had never played either, so we're
really?
going to teach him. Yep.
I imagine that he liked that one a lot.
Yeah, aside from the fact that he was not, he got hosed. He got stuck in a money desert with no money for a while. And so by the end of it, he caught back up to me, but he didn't pass me. And so he was last. I was second to last. And then there was a large gap where new Jeff, had been winning, had been very close to winning. And on my turn, however, I tried to push through the little hex thing, and I had to draw 3 hexes. And the first 2 I drew were both the person to your, like, everybody moves 1 space, and Megan, being immediately to my left, gets to move first out of those. And so she was able to go bloop, bloop, and drop in for the win. And so she was the first one in, and then other Jeff couldn't quite get there. And she was the first player, so the end of my turn meant the end of the round, and she was in there at the end of the round, so she won. So she snaked the victory there at the end and apologized to the other Jeff. She's like, yeah, I'm really sorry about that, but I'm not that sorry.
Yeah.
So she won. The other Jeff, he was really close. He was like right there at the El Dorado tile. And then Mike Jones and I were like 3 full hex tiles back. We were not close.
Nice.
Like map pieces?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Like it was because, we were on the 3rd one back. So if there's the El Dorado and then 1 tile, 2 tile, we were on the 3rd tile back.
That's pretty far back.
It was the middle tile it was a 5 tile map, and it was the U-turn tile. And we had not made the turn.
Poorly is what you all did.
Yeah. It's a fun game. I feel like we've talked about Quest for El Dorado on the show a fair amount.
We reviewed it at one point.
We definitely reviewed it. I believe it actually came to us via Boyd, I think.
It
at
did.
Geekway.
Yes.
Which I'm surprised he hasn't mentioned it. He's in the chat on Twitch, and he hasn't mentioned as I'm talking about this that, hey, I gave you guys that. But he did.
And
I'm glad he did, because it's good.
It's a fun game.
So those are what I played. I didn't play any games outside of game night this week. So that's it for me. So one of you want to take it away?
Sure. While you were playing Oath, I was sitting right next to you. I was unboxing the newest expansion for Arkham Horror 3rd Edition. Secrets of the Order, I want to say. Something similar to that. It added a couple new locations, but it added one cool thing that it added, and they were present in the scenario that Wes, Lance, and I played, which was called Bound to Serve, was shrouded enemies.
Okay.
So what these are is normally in Arkham Horror, when you see an enemy on the board, you can flip them over and sort of see, what their health is, what their attack, modification, that sort of stuff. So you can be like, oh, this is a good one for me to go attack or not. These ones, you cannot do that unless you are engaged with them.
Okay.
And so, because it's just like a ghost, it's just an
you want to see it,
apparition.
you got to put a ring on it.
Exactly. Yeah. And so the first thing that happened was there was a shrouded ghost near me. I was Mark Harrigan, who was the soldier, and he had a real cool ability that was on his turn, he could attack any number of his actions could be attacked.
Okay.
And so that means, if you're sitting on side with a monster on you, you could attack twice. He also had an ability that was an innate talent that he had, that was when you move into a space with a monster, or a monster moves into your space, you could choose to become delayed to get an additional action as an attack. So if you move into a space, you could attack 3 times in one turn. And then your next turn, you're just delayed, but you got an extra action out of it before, so it's a lot better, right?
Kind of balances.
Yeah. And then also when you become delayed and you become undelayed, you get to like recover sanity or focus or do something like that. So it was in your benefit to do that. So I go, there is a shrouded enemy next to me, and I was like, oh, we're going to run by there and go attack them. I flip it over, and it's a negotiation one. Now, my strength and will were both top notch. They were both 4. My negotiation was a big fat Uno. Just 1.
Uno.
Yeah, and I did have to you do get a negotiation +1 to help with it, but when you engage with this ghost, if you do not put 2 doom on your space, so you either have to put in 2 doom on your space or you become cursed. And the spot where it spawned already had 2 doom on it, and so I didn't want to add 2 on it, and I was just like, god damn it. So then I spent an entirely too long engaged with it trying to negotiate. I'm like, just let me shoot you, and it's just like, no, you got to talk, buddy. And I was like, god damn it. Yeah. So I ended up doing it, and this one is another scenario, and it seems like they're adding more of them now, which I like, that have like a bunch of split paths that you can do.
Oh, okay.
And one of the big hooks is these ghosts are like wandering around, and they're trying to you find out that the Order of the Silver Twilight, shockingly, made a deal with a great old one, Niathra. Niathra.
Seems like they shouldn't have done that.
I know, but they did it generations ago. Shocking.
Oh, okay.
And now
people were a lot dumber back then.
And they basically were just like, oh, the citizens of Arkham can pay that off whenever it becomes due. Well, now it was time for it to come due. So you interact with the Order of the Twilight, and at some point you can talk to the main guy. I forget what his name is, but he's always a fucker. And you can talk to him to basically be like, hey, all this shit is your fault, for your lodge's fault. You need to deal with this. And it's based on the number of clues on the scenario sheet, like what they do. But you also draw one of 4 or 5 different cards at random.
Okay.
And you tuck it underneath one of the cards that when you decide to do as an action, talk to them, you reveal that card. And then depending on what clue, how many clues you had on the scenario, you have to then go to one of 3 different cards. But it depends. It differs depending on one of those 4 cards that you picked up. That it's like, it could be like 0 to 2 clues on here. You go with this card, 3, you do this one, 4 plus you do this one.
Okay.
Or it could be like 0, you do this one, 1, you do this one, 2. It had like, it was a pretty wide variety. So you can't just be like, if I get 2, I'm good no matter what. It could be like 2, it's risky, it could be fine, but it also could be, you could have get that one that's like 0 to 2. Or you could be like, I'm going to get 5 to make sure. And then you realize it's like 0, 1, 2, and like 3 plus. And you're like, well, fuck, we wasted time, because it takes a lot of time to get a lot of those clues up. Right.
Sure.
And it seems like we only saw one of those scenarios or one of those outcomes, but it seems like one of them is like the Silver Twilight is like, well, fuck you. We're going to help this guy that we did back, and go against you. Another one is just like, we're just going to do our own thing. It's the past is in the past. They can't be, or yeah. Or the one, if you do real well, they're like, okay, we'll help you. Maybe like, who knows? I doubtful. We didn't get that one. Unsurprisingly, no. We got the like, the past in the past. We have nothing to do with what they said. So if you want to deal with it, deal with it. But we're just going to go do our own shit. I'm like, oh god damn it,
you bitches.
Yeah. And then we had basically the end game condition came up that was like, it seemed there are other ways, but the easiest one that we found was the citizens of Arkham like are going to have to make all these sacrifices, but you guys can make them instead. And it's like naturally, and it's like, take 4 damage and 4 horror to remove a token, lose an item worth, like lose 5 money worth of items, and then lose a talent or some of these other things, right?
Sure.
So it's like hurting you in order to take it instead of the citizens. And what was nice is that it took the entire turn. It took the entire group's turn of Wes, Lance, and I, because Lance was the postal carrier.
Okay.
Who can move, like when she moves, you can move with her. so she can take people around. But I had actually pulled earlier in the game a pocket watch, which gives you an extra action each round.
Okay.
Which also means that with my character, I could have attacked 4 times in one turn.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so this character would be real cool in a combat-heavy scenario. This was not a combat-heavy scenario, which is a bit of a shame. But it was still enjoyable. But at the end, they ended up taking me to the witch's house, which is just like, just location, to basically give those sacrifices. And I ended up taking all 4 of those different sacrifices in order for it to end in one turn. And so the game talks about, like, the end, it's like, you guys sacrificed so that the people can live. And I was like, I am the one that sacrificed. Do you know what I sacrificed for these fucking llamas?
Alpacas.
I know. So also, it's how much do they cost? But yes.
You know, what those alpacas cost this family.
Yes, exactly. Everything.
Yes.
But it cost my character everything. But yeah. So we won, but I can definitely tell that it wasn't like the best ending, which is going to be harder.
Yeah,
so
that makes sense.
It was a lot more enjoyable than the like bootleg war I played in one of the scenarios where it was like 2 different like
gangs,
2 gangs fighting against each other, and you could choose one or the other or go against both. And if you chose one of them, it was fairly easy to just be like, okay, well, we killed the other gang, and now we sort of run this place, and you guys sort of help us. So like that one was like the easy, like choosing a gang was an easy option, and it didn't feel as rewarding as like going against both of them to try and fix the situation. Whereas this one, it still felt satisfying to choose the quote unquote easier option because it was still us having to sacrifice stuff.
Sure.
So yeah, I enjoyed it. I'm looking forward. The character seemed cool. I really liked the shrouded enemies. There's a couple more things that are added that we didn't experience, but that's there. I'm sure they're just in the other expansions or the other scenarios. So
cool.
Yeah. And that's basically. I also played a game of Cabo V1. I lost.
She was very excited about getting to yell at you.
Yeah. Also, I believe all but 2 of the times I was the person to call Cabo, including 2 turns where on my second turn I called it just to be like, oh, it's just I feel like I have an easy enough hand. Let's see how it goes. And it only worked a couple times, but I didn't get last. So it was fine. I think I ended up getting second.
Was it the brand new girl who got last?
Yes.
So
by 2 points. So
you should still feel bad as an experienced Cabo player to have basically gotten last.
No, I don't feel bad because I didn't feel bad because I was like, I'm calling it. So it wasn't like it was my choice.
Sure. Sure. We'll go with that.
Yes. Jeff, what about you?
I played the Lord of the Rings Journeys in Middle-earth, also known as Jime, with Zach and Paul.
Yesterday, right?
Thursday. Which is like yesterday, but like 4 of them ago.
Sure.
4 yesterdays.
You know, like the Beatles. So we got to our final arc of the Shadowed Paths campaign, which is the first expansion campaign. And it's where we go and fight the spiders. And I think it would have... I wonder if it was only going to be 2 scenarios and not be that final mission, or can like any of those final missions be the final mission if you do that one last?
I don't know. That's a good question.
Yeah, I don't know. But there were 2 battle maps. We were fighting the spider boss in all 3 of them. The first battle map was more of your traditional battle map. And we killed the spider, and then we had to kill him again, and then he ran away. It's like pretty much all of the times that you see a boss.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
And then the second one was actually, so each battle map, it's 2 squares put together. This one was only 1 square.
Ooh, tight.
So it was a tight fights in tight spaces, where we absolutely slaughtered him. Both of those scenarios in total probably took like less than 40 minutes.
Yeah, it was crazy. We were just like, and
destroy.
Yep. Okay, great. And next one, and destroy.
Yep.
Oh, okay. And now let's go on to the final map.
Yeah, like they had all these like little pieces of terrain that you could like lure the spider boss over into and then use the terrain to like against him.
Okay.
But we just did shitloads of damage instead.
Yeah, we just murdered him. And then we got to the final scenario, which would be the end of our campaign. And then it was like we had to find the nest and destroy the nest, and we had
first we had to get out of spider webs.
Yeah, there was like 3 spider web areas, and every time we used the spider webs, it spawned a ton of enemies. And then we just went over and bashed on the nest until it spawned the boss, and then it spawned more enemies, and then it spawned more enemies, and then we killed the boss twice. Gandalf specifically put the final blow in on that boss in the first phase and the second phase, followed by us being massacred by the hordes of enemies that we ended up not killing because we were running out of time and just focusing on the boss, which then had a third phase that we were like, well, we're fucked.
Yeah, we didn't think we'd have to kill it 5 times.
Oh my God.
In 3 missions.
Yeah, that is so a little bit bonkers.
It was twice, and then twice, and then no,
it was just once and once.
The first one had more than one.
Maybe it was twice and then once, because they were both fairly short. They were both like 30.
Yeah, the first one was definitely twice. So we're talking close to 6-7 times.
Yeah,
killing this boss spider.
Damn.
And then we didn't really crowd control anything and got fucking slaughtered.
Yeah.
Because we were able to get to him the second time and kill him real easy, but we were not able to get him the third time because every time he gets killed, you have to place him in an explored map tile that is at least 1 space away from your character.
Basically 2 spaces away, because it couldn't be next to anybody.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And then we had the classic mistake that we've made in Journeys of like, all right, confirm I'm dead. Oh wait, I could have done this and we would have been fine.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have an undo button.
No.
Oh shit.
So he failed his last stand, and then he was like, "Oh, I had a success over here. I would have gotten it." But there's no way to go back without resetting the entire adventure from that mission from top to bottom.
So we tried to jury rig it to
like just do provoke attacks with everything that would have been reaching us. But but that alone slaughtered the rest of us, no problem.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So we didn't even get another turn.
Yeah.
Before we all lost to last stands.
Gotcha.
But the game, as you said, it was saved.
Yeah. So the save point is actually at the beginning. It's actually like in the middle of that same scenario.
Gotcha.
But without knowing where everything was, it would be hard to be able to do it. But you can at the save screen just go to reset adventure, and it just resets that mission back to the campsite. So we can give that final mission another try down the road.
Okay.
Want to. But once again, we failed the final mission of.
We did great on all the missions that didn't matter necessarily, and failed on the one that did.
Yep.
Way to go.
Yeah.
Super proud of you guys.
Our support dwarf just wasn't supporty enough.
No.
So
that's what I've heard. That he barely deserves the title.
He barely killed anything, which was really a problem.
Yes.
But the map was so huge, we didn't even explore most of it.
Yeah, there was a thing about like, oh, find this thing to help.
Something of dawn or something to help destroy the nest. Except we could just bash the nest.
Yeah.
Instead of using the dawn thingy, but we don't know where the dawn thingy was. There was tons of area on the map. We were getting a ton of threat. Lots of threat tokens out there that all increase your amount of time before the scenario ends.
Yeah.
Like you start with like 6, not counting characters. So
yeah, and I understand that the lack of an undo button is like I can understand why they wouldn't want to have that happen, or why they wouldn't want it to be there. It just sucks when it's because of a mistake that you can't do it versus like, I didn't like that outcome, let me try again, or something like that.
People will game things like that.
Exactly.
If you give them a chance, unfortunately.
Yes. So we'll just restart it and give it another try at some point.
I think we might do 5 players next time.
Our next campaign will probably be a 5-player. Julie and Ant really want to get in on it. So
and we've got 5 other characters that we haven't tried yet. So
yeah.
But convincing Paul to play one of them will be hard, I think.
Yeah.
He's just going to be Legolas again.
He really just wants to be Legolas again and murder everything. So,
shocking.
Yeah.
Sounds about right.
Boring,
yeah.
Can't wait to hear him complain about being called boring.
We're giving Ant and Julie first call on all classes and characters. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. I'm going to at least try and do one I haven't played before.
Yeah, me too.
And then Paul can wuss out.
Yep.
Cool.
And just be the murder character again.
No, what we need to do is we need to convince one of those two to be Legolas, and then
Make Paul support dwarf again.
Well, then he's just gonna be like Gimli or
We'll
any of the other multi-murder people.
No, we'll give them both of those characters, and then the most murdery.
I don't even know what is Arwen's profession.
I don't know.
I don't know either. She wasn't Pathfinder.
Herbalist? No.
No, that was in the first game.
Yeah. I don't know.
I don't know. There's no way to know.
It's impossible to tell.
Yep.
Cool.
So we suck again.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah.
But yeah, now he had to buy because there's 2 DLC expansions, one for the base game and one for the expansion.
Yes. So. And I've purchased the base game campaign.
Okay.
$7.
Oh my goodness.
$7 it is.
How could you afford it?
He had all this money that he just spent buying a TV.
I was going to say, speaking of how could you afford it, moving to Banter, Jeff, you bought a TV.
I did buy a TV. I bought a fancy TV.
How great is it? Because I'm assuming it's
I don't know. I don't
there.
have it yet.
Yeah.
Because it's being delivered Wednesday.
Gotcha.
You couldn't go pick it up?
No, nowhere had it in stock.
Like
in person in stock. But
gotcha.
I mean, it's free delivery.
Oh,
so it's not
Is
like...
did you get it? Where'd you get it from?
Best Buy.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
They had the best deal on it.
Gotcha.
That's where I got my last TV too.
For Father's Day special stuff.
Okay. I remember when I got a 65-inch TV, like I had to set up like for when the freight truck would get there to actually pull it out of the truck. So.
Yeah, this will be a delivery, and then they'll you're like, you sure you don't want installation? I was like, I'm sure. And he was like, well, feel how heavy the base of the TV is. And I was like, dude, I lift 165 pounds dozens of times a day.
Mm-hmm.
I think I can get the TV up.
Yeah, the only problem with the weight of it is just it being unwieldy, just because it's big. It's big, but otherwise it's.
But
fine.
it was definitely the like, oh well, do you need like some fingerprint remover for when you're installing the TV? And I was like, yeah, I think I'll be fine.
Yeah.
Do you want this $250 HDMI carbon HDMI cable?
Yeah.
I was like, no.
Because I'm not an idiot.
No, I can that cable is just as good as that cable that I find online for $20.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. But I did need to buy a new HDMI 2.1 cable.
Correct.
Because it is a different.
Yeah. You need a new type of cable, but you don't need the fancy type of that type of cable.
No. Because it can carry, and that's why I bought the TV, because it's HDMI 2.1, 4K, 120 hertz, and it's now last year's model, because the C1 came out, and I got last year's CX.
Oh.
But the C1 has a Web OS 6, which has some fancy, software that like auto does gaming settings and stuff, and I was just like, okay, the Web OS 5 has all of that, it's just not auto. Yeah. And there's a $400 price difference.
Is that it? Only $400?
Only $400.
That's almost a PS5.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And they did have, they had just taken the display down, so they had the display for sale, but it was like it was $180 to $5 difference, but like nothing. It was the TV. That's it.
Right.
No stand. No remote. No. It's been,
and it's also been used a lot.
It's been constantly running for a year.
Yeah.
No extended warranty.
Yeah. Fuck all that.
And it was like, okay, how much is the extended warranty? And they're like, $5. And I was, nope. You've already added way too many dollars into the process to make that worth it to just not get the brand new inbox.
Exactly.
version.
Yeah.
So
cool.
Yeah, so we'll find out Wednesday how amazing this new amazing TV is. Hopefully it's amazing. Yep. I've not had a 4K TV before.
Is it getting delivered Wednesday?
Yes.
Are you going to take off work?
No, so they're like, well, your window is between noon and 6, and we'll call Tuesday for you to tell us when you want it in that window. So I'll be like between 4 and 6, because I get home by 4-ish. And then I will be home to open the door and let you.
I feel like it's increasingly likely that we won't see you at game night then. You're going to set up your new TV and you're going to be like, oh.
It is inconvenient because going home is very much out of the way of game night. But we will see what happens Wednesday.
Indeed.
Oh, we will.
And then tomorrow we get the air conditioning looked at that has never worked. And I didn't even know existed until my housemate was like, oh yeah, the AC. I was like, what AC? It was around like the left side of the house that doesn't
You have no reason to go over there.
There's no reason I would ever go over there because there's nothing there. There's no way to get to the backyard. The backyard is on the other side.
There is something there. There's the AC that's there, Jeff.
This little AC unit, but it's super tiny, and it probably hasn't worked in many years.
Oh yeah.
So I doubt that it's going to be anything except we'll put a new one in.
Yeah, it's almost certainly got to be that, because even that, like, if it's fairly old, like they probably weren't counting on trying to cool, from the multiple 100-degree in a row days that we've had.
Yeah, it's probably from the 80s or worse.
Yeah, and that was a whole different climate back then.
Basically,
was.
Yeah.
Right. My vague memories of Colorado in the 80s when I was like 1 to 5 years old, it was very different.
Yeah.
I remember so much more snow.
I remember a lot more snow from my childhood, but that was also in Chicago.
I lost my koozie.
I only remember one snow in Georgia.
Georgia, yeah.
And everything shut down.
Pretty much. It was like 6 to 8 inches. And they had,
wow. That seems like a lot of snow.
Yeah, that is a lot of
it was
snow.
100% like the blizzard of like 95 or something, like 94, somewhere around there. And they definitely did not have the infrastructure to deal with that. So yeah.
Shut it all down.
Yep.
We'll wait for it to melt, and then we can come back out.
I definitely served in the Navy with guys who came from various parts of the South who had never seen snow. It's just like, I couldn't imagine never seeing snow. Like growing to adulthood without ever being around snow. Sad.
Mm-hmm.
And then they got stationed in New York.
You're like, here's the shitty snow.
Yeah. Here's the snow that lasts forever and just gets real dirty.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
We'll find bodies in it later this spring. What happens?
Nice.
Speaking of snow, temperatures dropped today, which is wonderful.
And they're just gonna go right back up tomorrow.
It made at least today in the studio much nicer than it otherwise would have been.
We'll see.
So, yeah, I don't have a lot else banter. My work gave me some JBL wireless headphones, as a thank you for, risking my life to work in an assembly line like environment during COVID.
Hooray.
Still no word on if they're going to give us raises this year.
Yeah.
We're all hoping, but normally we know well before June.
Well, I saw that your fiscal year ends in March, I think. I was looking it up because Paul was he made a comparison that felt like it was referencing something specific about your company versus just a general thing. And so I was very like, when you're like, we definitely didn't have, because you said $1 billion in revenue, and he's like, $1 billion in revenue doesn't mean anything if you are negative 200 million in profit. Right. And I was like, excuse me, they were that, and so I went to look it up, and I'm like, I don't see this anywhere. Where is he getting this number? And then he responded with that, and I was like, oh, okay,
he's just pulling it out of his ass.
Yeah.
I was.
There's no for example or anything.
No. I pulled up some of our shareholder like things too, because I was trying to see if I could find like what our actual profits were, so I could be like, oh yeah, it was $1 billion in revenue and $100 million in profits, and they couldn't afford a 7% raise for their workforce making less than 6 figures.
No, I saw it, but it was all in yen.
Yep,
and I was
that's
like,
the one I found too, and I was like, I'm not doing these conversions.
Exactly.
Plus,
because it was always in millions, and then it was like in millions, and it was thousand, like it.
Yeah, it was like 60,000 million yen.
Yeah,
and it was like what? And then even then, that's like, I don't feel like an accurate, because that's like for the whole. That's for Terumo, the whole thing, and I work in like a subsidiary of Terumo that is probably has somewhat of its own books. Yeah, and so I don't know. Although Terumo, the big company, is where they made the $1 billion that they're all
exactly,
and that's where they're celebrating their 100-year anniversary and all that, and they're very excited about.
Yeah, Boyd, I know we could just Google that, but also I saw that stuff while we were driving, so it was like at a stoplight. I pulled that stuff up and I saw that, and I was like, all right, well, this is the end of my interaction with this for right now.
Yeah, and I just definitely was like, I don't care enough to switch tabs.
Also, you might want to spell that correctly.
Yeah,
got him.
Aha,
try and correct us, and you spelt shit wrong. So you know how stuff on the internet works.
Yes, Jeff.
It's 1,000 to 1 yen.
That
to
sounds
US
about
dollars.
right. I should know this. I was in Japan like a little over a year ago.
Like 1,000 yen is $1 generally.
That sounds about right. But anyhow,
anyways,
so yeah, I got some new wireless headphones. Is the point of all of that?
Yes. I played a little bit of I played a little bit more of the Ratchet and Clank. played around with the like 60 frame versus 30 frame.
Yeah.
Stuff.
I'm waiting to do that until I beat the game, and then I'm gonna
then just go back and play it with a different frame rate.
Yeah. Well, because I know you can do new game plus.
It just dumps you out right before. Well, I don't know if there's new game plus, but I know it dumps you out right before the final boss.
Yeah. But then at that point, I'll switch it to performance mode, or not performance mode, but
60 frames.
30 4K.
Frames.
Yeah.
30 frames, 4K.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I just put it up to 60 frames, less fidelity, because I don't have 4K. So like, or like the lower resolution, but 60 frames.
Yes, that's
because I only have 1080 anyways, so I don't need the 4K.
Yeah. Well, and then so do you do the performance or the performance RT?
I don't remember which one. The one that was a lower resolution is the one I chose.
Okay. Well, I know they're both lower resolution, but the RT one has ray tracing in it, but it still has some other sort of thing in it.
I don't remember because it was not described very well. It was just like ray tracing, no ray tracing, but other things.
Yes.
What are those other things?
Any noticeable difference that
frame rate went up? That's all I know.
Is that something you noticed?
Yes.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. I definitely noticed the frame rate.
You can tell 30 to 60.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't feel like I've ever been able to really notice.
Well,
but I don't know how much I've ever really played around with it, like side by side like that.
Yeah.
Well, what's not when you switch it?
It's very quick.
It's very quick, and then like it then sort of like reboots itself real quickly, and then you're like, oh, here it is in 30. You switch it to the other one, and you're like, okay, I can see you can see a big difference. Yeah,
interesting.
So we'll see when the TV.
Yeah, I feel the game is chaotic enough that having the 60 frames really helps.
Yeah, that's good.
It is
cool. Speaking of video games, I'm still playing some Stellaris. I got back into it for the last few days.
Oh.
Same campaign that I started when I first got the new Nemesis expansion. And I made the decision. I'd been sitting on my last Ascension perk for a while, debating about whether I wanted to go like be better against the Crisis or be the Crisis.
Yeah.
And I was like, fuck it, I'm going to be the Crisis.
Hooray.
I'm already playing a hive mind, so it's just fitting that I decide to gobble up everything.
Gotcha. And I just want to clarify, it's 110 yen to $1, not 1,000.
Okay.
So
or 100 to 1. That's way more accurate.
Yes.
Yeah. I was like 1,000 to 1. That doesn't seem quite right.
I was like, wow, that really changed since the last time I saw it. I had to double check. That's fine. I feel like I would hear a correction coming.
Yeah. I feel like it was closer to 100 to 1 last year, maybe. Because if I remember the conversions actually being pretty reasonable. Like, I feel like 120 to 1 is, just off enough.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know.
About 5 years ago, it was 100 to 1.
Oh, then I don't know. Maybe we were just way rounding down. Anyway, I don't have a lot of other bantery things. It was kind of a dull week for me.
Our cooler is really, really full at work with 80% not our beer.
Is it
Founders?
This beer?
Yes, it is a lot of that beer.
That's a stream exclusive there.
We start Centennial Brewing packaging next week.
Is that new for you?
New for us.
Okay, so all the Centennial that I've seen for a while has been coming from Michigan.
Yes.
Okay.
It will now be coming from Boulder.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about that.
It's a pain in the ass is what it is.
Yeah.
Like I want to be excited about it.
We make a ton of it and it just doesn't go out the door fast enough.
Yeah.
And then it sits around, and when we have to make other stuff, like we have to be like, well, I guess we have to sit that outside the cooler for today until the truck shows up to pick it up.
Do you get like a decent commission on that or something?
It's a contract brew, so I'm sure someone's getting paid money somewhere.
Okay.
Well, the downside is the same company that owns 70% of Avery owns 90% of Founders, so it's really just the same, one hand handing the other hand money at this point.
Yep.
It all goes into the same Spanish bank account. So,
right on.
Yeah.
Subbub. Yeah.
Speaking of making money.
Yeah, we got a new sub. Thanks.
Thank you.
Kanya.
Kanya who?
McCavery.
Yeah.
Sure.
McCavery. I don't know.
McCavery. Yeah.
It's a Twitch username.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know.
And they did a smart thing of doing it with Prime. It costs you no money other than the money you're already paying.
It's free. Free real estate.
Free real estate. Yes.
So let's move on, I think, to some news and Kickstarter, unless you have something super bantery you want to chime in, Zach. Because I feel like Jeff and I are kind of tapped out. Next week, Jeff will have a whole bunch of fucking TV to talk about, I'm sure.
Yeah, totally.
I went
You know what? I'll be able to watch Disney Plus and it's full 4K. God damn it.
Yeah.
Bad Batch continues to be.
I went to a grilled cheese party. That was
Oh
fun.
yeah, I saw you in the background.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, I went to that as well. I forgot. Yeah, that's something we could talk about.
I saw that picture, and it was either right before I made the expression of "oh shit, they're taking a picture," or right after the expression of "oh shit, they're taking a picture."
I can't believe that Rick didn't win. All that effort.
I know,
and he didn't win.
He made a bacon cheeseburger grilled cheese,
Okay.
but still qualified as a grilled cheese because the bacon burger part was in the bun or in the bread itself.
Oh, in the bread.
Yes.
Okay.
So it was still bread, cheese, and bread.
Okay.
So by all the laws
'Cause
of
it-
God, man, it was a grilled cheese.
It wouldn't be he was close to the melt line.
Yeah.
but-
Oh, he wanted to get. Culinarily speaking, he is very trying. He's always trying to push the envelope that way. And it was good when I had it.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
He did a bunch of test ones, and he was handing those out
Yeah.
for different people to try.
He was working on that shit for months, or not at least a month.
Which is why I feel bad that he
Yes.
didn't win, because I feel like a lot of the other people just kind of were like, I'm gonna just half-ass it with whatever's here.
Well, yeah. Oh, there were definitely people that did that because I think there were only like 3 or 4 entries.
Yeah.
And then people were like, oh, we could still do it. Let's just do some stuff. But it's one of those things of creativity. Is it creativity is the enemy of success? Is that what the thing is? No.
Don't let perfect be the enemy of good.
No, there's something similar to that though. That because he was aspiring to something great. There is a chance. There's a chance it just doesn't work as well for some people. So versus just like what you want in a grilled cheese.
Fair enough.
That it's like that was good, but also it was wildly different in terms of flavor profile that you want a grilled cheese versus like a good grill,
Sure.
But he definitely had the most creative one. It was real tasty.
The highlight of the entire party for me was the brisket I had 2 minutes before I left.
The brisket was real good, and the pulled pork was. I didn't even have a grilled cheese when I was there.
I had one of Rick's grilled cheeses, and then that was it. I didn't make any of my own. I ate a lot of the cheese that was sitting in the bowls for grilled cheese. I was like, I'm just gonna take that chunk of what's this, mozzarella?
Yeah.
Yep, it's mozzarella. All right. But yeah, the I stuck around like an extra 30 minutes for that brisket, and it was worth it.
It was definitely worth it. Yeah,
it was a good time.
I left at 2:30 in the morning.
Oh dear.
Yeah,
I left well before then because I
did.
had to be at work at 5:30 in the morning.
I did not. I woke up at like almost noon. I think it was good. Yeah, that was the only other thing I did.
Whitney almost tackled Wes. It was entertaining. Yes, his mic stand works.
You're just really gripping it, like it's.
I don't understand.
Like it's gonna fall at any
question.
point. No, it's like it works as a stand. He doesn't have to hold it if he doesn't want to.
Oh,
but he was
I
just
currently am.
He was just holding it, death gripping it.
It's true.
Neat.
Yeah. On that note, we can move over to some news and Kickstarters.
Huzzah.
So this article over on NPR is our first piece of news, talking about the nightmare that international shipping is right now, with a closer look in as an interview with a board game Kickstarter person.
Yeah. So I first saw this and I was like, okay, so we're just going to talk about how shipping is awful and like how that's affecting Kickstarters, because it is. And then I started to read the article, and sure enough, they interview John Nephew from Atlas Games, who their recent Kickstarter Dice Miner was trying to get out to backers and everything. And he talked about where was it? It was something like his shipping costs ended up being 50% more than what he had budgeted for. And that was just getting the games to him. And then now he still has to package them and send them to Kickstarters, to the backers. And he's expecting that to be even more.
I think Atlas is the Gloom people.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, yeah, they got a lot of interviews with different people. Like one of them is the executive director of a huge port out on the West Coast in like LA or something. All kinds of stuff. Talking about how shipping is just, it is such a fucking mess right now. Like, it is completely garbage. And then like I was even reading a different article the other day that said here in the US at least, like there's a massive shortage of truck drivers because like
Yep.
I mean, that's burnout.
Burnout. And then also like it's one of those like it is constantly at the top of lists of like jobs most likely to be automated. So like no one's going into trucking.
Right.
And then because of COVID, trucking schools were shut down for like most of the last year. So no one's been getting trained as a new trucker. And so there's just not enough drivers right now for the trucking industry. And so that's also driving up shipping costs. And
it has directly impacted my work.
Oh, yeah, I could imagine. You probably see it a lot more.
Yeah, that's why we can't get the beer out the door fast enough as we can make it, because we can make it fast, but we can't move it fast, which is a problem for me.
Yeah.
Who has to deal with that in a cooler most mornings. I'll take a picture of what the cooler looks like tomorrow morning, and then we can... You know what? It's still not as bad as fucking Epic.
Dude, Epic was such a shit show. I was talking to somebody the other day, and they're like, do you still work at the brewery? And I was like, Epic? They're like, yeah, that's the one. I was like, no. God, no. Not for a while.
I actually ran into Devin today.
Oh.
Yeah. He's a cellarman at Four Noses.
Anyhow, it's a cool article. It talks about a lot of different things with the status of shipping, but it was kind of cool that like a key thing was this like board game designer was like a key part of this article on NPR about the shipping crisis. So just more evidence that our hobby continues to reach into all sorts of different corners.
Yeah, and it's not getting better anytime soon.
No. Next up on news.
Terraforming Mars Ares expedition is hitting target like today. Also, Kickstarter backers don't have the game yet.
Not even close. So this kind of like all happened falling together like over the weekend. Where basically Stronghold put out a
backer update
where they were like, hey, just an FYI, this is going to happen.
The day before
yeah,
it was hitting shelves.
So this was Saturday, the 19th. They're like, hey, this is going to happen. This is going to be hitting the stores tomorrow. Sorry. Like, we didn't want it to go this way, blah, 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 blah. Unfortunately, that's what's going to happen, but don't worry, it's like an inferior version. But then, like, when you look, it's not.
I mean, it's
not that much.
It's basically the difference between a Kickstarter version and a store version. I mean, it's just a store version of a game that it still has all the main components. It's the same game, but like the Kickstarter one has the dual layer boards, the cube trays for storage, promo cards, and then fancier box. But the game itself is still the same in there.
But knowing the cube trays, if they're like the Terraforming Mars big box, it's almost as useful as just a plastic bag.
Yeah.
I have to take your word for it. I still have not opened mine yet.
Mine is all in there.
So some of the like drama surrounding this is less even that they're getting this like version, which is part of it because there was also supposed to be a regular retail version that was going to have like all the dual layered boards and stuff. But now people are like, wait, is this the retail version? And that wasn't accurate. So I passed on the Kickstarter thinking I'd just get it at retail. And now I'm not going to be able to get the fancier stuff. Or is this only the Target exclusive? Yeah. In which case Target's getting this before all of the local game stores. So while it's really hot, it's going to sell really well at Target. And then local game stores are going to get screwed trying to sell a more expensive version. Like, so that's been causing some issues. And then in their update, they were like, we wanted to get it to backers first, but the shipping crisis caused all this problem. But then somebody pointed out that their original estimate for backer delivery was September. And that they had come back and been like, hey, we're ahead of schedule for backer delivery. Like, this is great. And then it's like, wait, so if you weren't even planning to get it to us till September and you planned this release in June, then no, you weren't ever actually planning to get it to backers ahead of this. And so there's questions about how forthright they're actually being about this.
I know for me, the other questions you brought up I think those are more legitimate and I'm blanking at what you already said.
The two issues I pointed out are that they had mentioned there was already the Kickstarter talked about a retail version that was still going to have all the other stuff. It just wouldn't have like the promos because of course not.
Yeah.
But people were expecting the dual layer board and stuff. And so now they're concerned that is this the retail version?
Yes. So if they passed on that because they said that the retail was going to have everything and then it doesn't, that would be a problem. And And that Target having one versus local games, I could also see that one being a problem too. But like, I know for me at least, the fact that if someone could go to Target and buy this before me, I don't care.
Yeah, I'm not as concerned about
Yeah.
that. Like I backed Ares. I think we all did. Did you, Jeff?
I did.
Okay,
Yeah.
then yeah, we all did.
Yeah. And I know for me at least, like I backed it to get the game with that extra shit.
Uh-huh.
And the fact that other people can get stuff that doesn't like honestly, even if people like they sold Kickstarter copies online or whatever, like because I've seen that occasionally happen. That doesn't. I backed it to get a copy. I'll get a copy at some point. That's all I care about.
Yeah. I would have been upset if they did like a nationwide Target launch with a Kickstarter version. Like that would have pissed me off. Like, oh, I can go get my Kickstarter copy faster by just going to Target. But like you said, this isn't that.
Yeah.
So that doesn't bother me as much. This is also a super common thing. So like, I'm not shocked by it.
Yeah.
Like that was one of the things like when we were talking about it in the Slack channel, Paul was like, I don't know why anybody's surprised about this. It's like, well, I don't think anybody's surprised by it.
Yeah.
But you can be unsurprised and still a little disappointed.
No, yeah. No, if anybody was just like, if anybody told me that they were annoyed at that, I'd be like, I get it. But I am not personally annoyed when somebody gets a copy of something before me.
Yeah.
So
I think it's disappointing. Like, I don't super care personally, but I can see why people are upset.
Yeah, but it's like you said, it's also sort of inevitability of this.
It's par for the course at this point. So
yeah, I mean, Stronghold isn't even Stronghold anymore. They're indie boards and cards, and I'm sure it's all indie boards and cards that's sort of running these at this point. And Indie Boards and Cards has been using Kickstarter as their own little pre-order store for years now.
Yeah.
And now that they're the same thing, it's just going to be this over and over again. And Kickstarter has been abused like this in the past, and it will in the future.
Oh, yeah. I mean, this is just the board gaming hobby learned that it can use Kickstarter as a fancy digital pre-order service for a 30% surcharge, and they're happy to do so.
Yes, for sure. So, I don't know. It's
like
dumb,
I think Kanye in the chat points out like the problem is the broken promises and ruining of trust, not the situation itself. And
I can see it.
And like the fact they dropped, like they clearly knew this was happening for a while, and they waited till the day before to drop.
It was
the
like,
news.
oh shit, let's do this tomorrow, I guess.
Yeah, like oh god, people are going to be angry. We better get ahead of this.
Well, it's not like literally Saturday. They were like, all right, start loading the boxes on the trucks. Print the cards. We got 24 hours to make this game and put it on a shelf. No, this was many months in advance.
They've known.
Like they probably knew when they were running that fucking Kickstarter last year.
They almost certainly did. They almost certainly were working out the contract details with Target at the time.
Yeah.
And then they just look through their Kickstarter. They're like, oh shit, we deleted that paragraph that said it was going to Target. Oh fuck. We need to remind it now. It's
but I've heard nothing of but people just getting harassed and death threats over it, which is also
apparently
totally
the Kickstarter comments are like fucking trash. I didn't go look at the actual Kickstarter comments, but like in this BGG thread that we're pulling a lot of this from, like that's people are saying like the comments over there.
I linked this one because it was at least vaguely reasonable.
Yeah, there were people on both sides. Like some people are like, hey, this is being at Target is good for the hobby. It expands these games, gets them into more hands, gets us more gamers. And then there are people like, yeah, but they could have been more forthright. It's BGG's done a much better job of cleaning up their comments lately.
It's being moderated.
Yeah, effectively.
Yes, where I don't think Kickstarter has moderation for their comment system at all.
Probably not.
I
think that's been a complaint before.
I think it would need to be like active versus like someone have to fucking go through.
Yeah.
So, we'll see. This is developing story. We'll see how things pan out over the course of this week. Like in theory, we could have probably went to Target on the way home and picked a copy up today
to play it.
To have played it. But we'll see.
But you know what? I've already played it.
Yeah,
it was called Race for the Galaxy.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm still looking forward to playing Race for the Galaxy Terraforming Mars Edition.
Yeah, we'll see.
If you remember, Terraforming Mars replaced Race for the Galaxy for me. Now it's just full circle.
Cyclical. Yeah, there you go.
Now it literally has.
But when will Jump Drive be replaced?
Oh man, Jump Drive replaced itself immediately by just not being something I want to play.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, it's weird.
I don't know if that
works.
It's
a weird one.
It is.
But it came with more victory point tokens, which is what you really need for all the lost ones.
Yeah. I missed the Twitter complaints of lack of Kickstarter moderation, but apparently there were some.
I just had seen a bunch of them today as I was perusing. I was like, oh, what's the fucking fire today on the internet? And it was this. Yeah.
Anyway, now we can move on to Kickstarter after we just got done criticizing their lack of moderation in their comments.
Let's talk about Kickstarter. First up on Kickstarter is Ark Doom Tabletop RPG, funded in 23 minutes.
Yeah.
Because who cares? Very well funded, 60,000 of its $7,000 goal, over 1,400 backers, a week left to pledge, which can at the most popular level of $60.
Yeah. So Ark is a new RPG system for telling stories about beating the apocalypse. It's a very open-ended system. This is very much a Kickstarter for a system, not so much a setting. And they talk about that it can be applied to a bunch of different settings. But it's basically a fairly simple D6 based system, where you set a time limit for your game, 3 hours, 4 hours, however long, and the apocalypse happens in that amount of time, and then you tell you play it in sort of real time. It's a little unclear like how much you can abstract time, like days, weeks, months can pass in that time. But the clock ticking in real life works as a mechanic to signal the apocalypse drawing ever closer, whatever your chosen apocalypse is, that you're racing to try and beat or minimize or mitigate or whatever your individual goals are in it. It seems kind of interesting. I didn't get a chance. I kind of skimmed through the like rules light that they give down here. Yeah, they've got a quick start guide. The link on the Kickstarter is super broken, but it is free for the next 9 days on drivethrurpg.com. So you can go get it for free on drivethrurpg, which is what I did, and I was looking through the rules. And it has some loose guidelines for the person running the game master. I can't remember what they call them in this one. For setting up these scenarios and kind of running through them. They give the digital character sheet is just a Google Doc that's really well put together Google Doc to let you kind of knock out a player sheet. It's kind of interesting. The players in this one, you have a little bit of stuff that gets put into actual skills, but you also have things like your, what they call it. Basically, it's like how you approach things. So you allocate some points between bold, cautious, and nonchalant or something. And so you can get a bonus whenever you do a skill, whether you do it, whichever way you prefer. So if you want to make a character who's a little bit more subtle, you can put your higher bonus in your subtle. And so you can be like, well, I want to approach this skill check subtly. And then the game master can be like, okay, well, that might make it harder because this is something you're trying to get the attention of the bus driver who's driving away, and you do it subtly. Well, that might not work so well.
If you do everything slowly, they don't notice you. You just do it like Drax, and then it's fine.
Yeah, just imperceptible.
Just don't let mana see you, and then you're fine.
They say in the Kickstarter that they've got a new approach to spell casting, where it's hard to replenish your different spell power levels. I didn't see anything about that in the quick start rules. I didn't get far enough into them, so I can't really talk about how the spell casting works. And that's
other than it works differently.
In the Kickstarter, they say you can replenish them with strange rituals like burning a memento, sleeping all day, or even eating a door. So, you
got to eat it subtly.
Got to eat it subtly.
Almost
slowly.
Almost imperceptibly.
Yep.
The art style is very interesting. I'm not entirely sure how I feel about it, especially some of the I don't know, would it be the typeface? It's not necessarily the font. I don't know. The way they lay out the words is sometimes just kind of all over the place.
It's very shadow boxy.
Yeah.
Almost.
Typography?
Huh?
Typography?
Well, that's
I'm not sure.
That's
it's
all
not technically font.
Yeah.
Font is, I don't know. I've seen a lot of threads of people on Twitter complaining about people misusing font as a word. So I'm very careful to say that anything is ever a font.
You know what? People have too much time on their hands.
You're not wrong.
You know what? Sometimes people are really passionate about things. Some of those people really like fonts.
They sure do. But I do really like the actual art style. It is weird, and I dig it. It's not something I've ever really... I can't...
And this is all for the fancy deluxe version that you'll be buying.
I mean, even the PDFs are going to have all the art in the PDF.
Yeah. But the version you got doesn't have all this stuff, right?
I have not yet gotten a version.
Well, the free one that you got on the thing.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's just the quick start rules.
Yeah,
that's not the game.
Yeah, it doesn't have any of the fancy art or anything.
It has a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah. Could maybe even actually pull it up here. History. No, downloads. I need download. That's what I want. Boom. Arc. Maybe.
Pornography.
Yeah.
No, thankfully not.
RPG, pornography, RPG, pornography, pornographic RPGs.
Oh my god, I hate you guys so much. Now it's just not even wanting to load.
You just have a lot of weird shit on there, huh?
I mean, if we're talking about the pornographic RPGs, I mean, he can play.
Jesus Christ, I hate you guys.
He can
so
play
much.
the Lamentations of the Flame Princess.
That's very, very true.
God,
I do love all of their magic items. Their magic items were the best.
They were.
I don't know. It must have gotten purged because I can't find it now.
Well, it's that time of year.
Yeah. Good old annual purging.
Anyway, moving along.
It did have some good art still, even in the quick start guide. Is what I'm getting at, and had some of the weird layout stuff there. I was like,
Gotcha.
I don't know about this.
Yeah.
Bunch of stretch goals. They blew through all of their initially planned ones and have a bunch of new ones, including new stories and art from a bunch of different artists and stuff, and different storytellers, things like that. That I think actually look really cool. For most of it, some of the guest artists are like, I don't know, that's not super my art style, but they've also unlocked things like Roll20 digital implementation, a Discord bot if you want to play it on your own little Discord channel, and then they're working towards getting an illustrated adventure unlocked, which actually they may have. Yep, they just barely crossed, so that is now officially unlocked. So yeah, that's Ark, the Doom tabletop RPG.
Woo.
I'm intrigued. We might play it on MHGD for our final one shot using the quick start guide and just see how it goes.
Gotcha.
We'll see.
Cool.
Next up on Kickstarter.
Next up, we have First Ascent. Just funded $34,000 of its $17,000 goal. 567 backers. About 3 weeks left to pledge this one, which you can for $49.
Yeah. So this is a rock climbing strategic board game for 2 to 5 players. Basically, you're going to be moving along. The board is like a mountain made up of hex pieces, and you're a climber. You're making a path across the hexes up towards the peak. The different hexes get harder as you go up and require different skills that you can get from a bunch of different decks in the game that you can kind of draw from, as well as like your own unique climbers' skills and abilities. You can level up your climbers' skills and abilities as you go, so they get better and better and better. And then ultimately, you are trying to be the most skilled climber on the board or in the game. It uses engine building, resource management, route building, set matching, and it has a modular board, starting off with a basic 10 characters to choose from. So I was looking through this, and like, so I rock climb. And when I first saw this and first started scrolling through it, I was like, is this going to be one of those things where the designers clearly like have never actually rock climbed? Is this going to be like, what was that?
The Climbers.
That's true.
True. No, what was the movie?
Oh,
Cliffhanger.
Terminal Velocity.
Terminal Velocity, I think, is the one I'm thinking of.
But I mean, Cliffhanger also has
a lot of very sketchy.
That one has Chris O'Donnell in it. Terminal Velocity, right?
I don't know. Maybe.
Okay.
It's
Robin, man. How can you not know him? Jeez.
Oh, then I think definitely yes.
You can.
Now that you say that, it's the one where like they're for whatever reason climbing with the like green nitroglycerin that leaks out of backpacks, explodes everywhere.
Yeah. You got to cut me.
Yeah. So the beginning of that is the worst climbing scene in all of movies. It is really bad. But yeah, so I was expecting that, and I was shocked.
Sorry, are you thinking of Charlie Sheen and not Chris O'Donnell?
No, that it's a different game. Or it's a different name. It's not that one.
Okay, it's not terminal velocity because that's about skydiving.
Oh, yeah, no. I thought the name didn't sound right.
Vertical Limit?
Vertical Limit. That's
Vertical
better.
Limits. Yeah.
Anyhow, I was surprised that this game is not like that. The climbing stuff they talk about actually seems on point, to the point that like even the different names, like some of these, like there's one that's like the rope gun, and that's like totally like you want a rope gun in your climbing group because they're great for setting routes and stuff and getting ropes up for everybody else to climb because they can just fly up the wall. It's great. And a lot of the other things that it talks about are right on point. Like, you know, I've known a lot of climbers who found like snakes on a ledge, which is like one of the event cards that can happen. Stuff like that. So it seems interesting. It seems like it might have a little bit too much randomness for my personal taste in a board game. Whether or not my enjoyment of the theme would override that, I'm not sure.
I mean, it's no Mountaineers, so...
But nothing really is.
Nothing
looks
really
better than
is.
Mountaineers.
Because it looks decent?
Yes,
Okay,
it looks
then-
like an actual game.
Then yeah.
But yeah, I'm kind of interested in it.
How much was it again?
$50
For the most popular pledge.
Okay.
Which is a copy.
Okay.
because there is no other.
$49.
There is no other.
Like,
tier. It's just
Yeah,
what's the 95?
95 is
it's two copies.
I mean, look, you're saving money that way.
Sure you are. But yeah, I don't know. I'm intrigued to go through it. And like I was looking a little bit, the designer is definitely like heavily involved in the rock climbing community, which because it was one of those, like, I looked at the game and I was expecting it to be bad, then it wasn't. I was like, oh shit. And I was like, wait, who designed this? And then it turns out they're a climber.
I wouldn't have put it on the fucking list.
I know. Well, I don't know. There were other things on the list that maybe somebody
were
didn't...
there before.
That's
from
true.
last time.
That's true. That one was
okay.
there from last time.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's first Ascent.
Yeah, it looks neat.
Pretty cool.
It's you have psych cubes.
But it's
Yeah, you gotta
August
get psyched up.
August 22. It looks like.
Yeah, so it's a little ways. That's a long time to wait.
14 months.
But also only $50, which isn't bad for a game these days.
That's cool. I just noticed that didn't have a leg.
Yeah, that's the Bionic Climber. Their ability, Bionic Woman, because they're an amputee, they have to learn to climb different. So their ability is that they can use one skill each turn as a different skill. So because they've learned to approach things differently.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Overcome.
Yeah, apparently that's another thing they do talk about in this is that they really wanted to make it a diverse and inclusive group of people because
And that, like, I've seen a
yeah.
decent amount of like videos of people doing that.
Yeah,
I did see one where someone was climbing and then their leg fell off and then just fell to the ground, and it's like, well, that's awkward.
That's why you tie in.
Exactly.
All right, guys, I'm gonna need you to lower me. I gotta get my leg back.
Yeah.
No, I've seen like they make some really cool like climbing specific attachments for like arm prosthetics that are like really good for gripping onto rock surfaces, similar to how like because your fingers can grip onto rock in a lot of different ways besides like just hooking onto a hold.
I'm assuming it's just a drill that you just
Yeah. Just fucking punch into the rock face like Wolverine the whole way up.
Yeah. This Alex Hommel, is that his name? Just free climb fucking.
Honnold.
Yeah.
Yeah. His mom became like the oldest woman to climb that route as well. Like,
good for her.
He was like, all right, Mom, we're gonna get you into climbing now too. So, but yeah, First Ascent, a rock climbing themed board game. Go check it out.
Last up on Kickstarter, we have The Forests of Pangaia. Very well funded, $166,000 of its $23,000 goal. Over 2,600 backers. About 3 weeks left to pledge, which you can at its most popular deluxe edition of $66.
Indeed. So this is a 2 to 4 player game about growing a magical forest.
It's a peaceful strategy game too.
Indeed,
Peaceful.
peaceful strategy game. So basically in this one, you are like, I don't know, kind of a
Forest spirits.
Forest spirit. You're a different colored tree. And you're trying to spread your trees.
There are actual like deer meeple
yes.
things too.
Yes. Like here's Here's one of them. And that's your player piece. You move it around the woods. You can plant little seeds that are like a little resource disc type thing. Then those seeds sprout into young trees, and then the trees grow and grow and grow, and eventually they can drop their own seeds and help spread your little bit of forest. As you build across this hex based map, each of the hexes or groups of hexes are based on a specific kind of resource element. Yeah, water, wind, sun, and snow. And then you have these rituals, which are cards that tell you what order you want to connect a series of those essences. And if you can get your force to connect them in that order, then you score some life energy points. And that is also the end game trigger. Once all of the rituals have been completed, that'll be the end of the game. Whoever has the most of those life energy things will be the winner of the game. Triggering them, it mentioned somewhere down further, it causes the trees that trigger it to kind of decay. So your forests are going to be growing and shrinking and moving and kind of changing as you play, which I think looks like with the components in this, looks like it could be kind of an interesting visual thing.
Because you have kind of your own area and you can start merging into other people's areas. And you and there's multiple strategies of I can just kind of be my own solo thing, or I can start kind of pushing in on someone else's spot.
Yeah. The tree components, I think, look pretty cool the way your trees grow.
Just stacking new stuff on top of them.
Fairly simple, but still looks well done for that. Yeah. Because it's not what's that tree game?
Photosynthesis.
Yeah, where it's different levels of trees that are all cardboard. It's the fact that you have the base tree and you can just put the tops on top. On top
stack.
So, yeah.
But yeah. So that's
and you start with one seed and you sort of just grow from there.
You can get to a max of 4 seeds that you can run around planting with your little piece. And you do that by growing other trees. They kind of show those extra 3 seeds that are locked until you've grown the trees that are connected to them on your player board.
Gotcha.
And there must be some kind of a rule. It's not very clear. It's one of those gift things where it just pulls, but it looks like it pulls from spots 2 and 3. I don't know how you get to decide where you pull your different tree tops from on your player board. I'm sure there's a rule for it, but
it might just go in order. The first tree gets you 1, second, third gets you a seed, and then 4, 5, 6.
Yeah, but on the thing up here, that's the single one, and they don't take that one first, so I don't know.
I don't know. There's no way to know.
No way to know.
It's impossible. So, yeah.
When is it expected?
August 2021. No, that's for just the general supporter pledge. March 2022.
Okay, that's not too bad.
So that's when I'm going to go be seeing Hamilton.
Nice.
Neat.
Excited for that. But yeah, components and everything look pretty cool.
Yeah, and
the trees look awesome. Everything else is pretty standard stuff.
And after the shipping and stuff like that, they sort of show off all the individual, art and trees and stuff like that.
Yep, looks pretty good.
And then they have a
$70 for a premium edition. Includes a bunch of stretch goals and some extra wooden tokens for resources. That's kind of nice. I like wooden pieces.
And they have a bunch of IRL tree benefits. But specifically, by Kickstarter policy, we are not allowed to have a pledge level include a contribution to a reforestation program by planting a tree individually for you, but we're partnering to reforest areas in need with Tree Nation.
Cool.
And then they have another
I missed that.
Tree Select? Yeah.
Tree Select,
yeah.
I don't know what that is.
And they will also, that's another tree planting thing that has pledged to plant a tree for every game unit ordered.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
So several thousand trees already.
Yes. Several thousand trees.
Cool.
Yeah, it looks neat. I
dig it.
I like the stuff and the things.
Yeah, it's Forests of Pangaia. And that wraps up news and Kickstarter. Right on, well, moving on to some listener feedback. No new emails.
No new emails.
No new Paulo's Corner.
No Paulo's Corner.
But Zach gets to get in on the action with a BGG comment.
Yeah, because making BGG posts again.
Yeah, it's funny how that works.
Funny how it works. And unsurprisingly, so this comment is from the episode 232 in a clinic live stream. And this is from Frank Flores. Wait, you guys still play board games? I thought the show was the Denver Ski /Brewery /Lift report now.
Definitely a little behind on episodes.
Yeah, probably.
Lift is being included in that.
Correct. Well, lift, maybe. Like, he didn't spell with a Y. So,
Okay.
but like ski lift, maybe. I don't know.
But I haven't talked about ski lifts in a while because I skied this entire season at a resort with no ski lifts, which I was very pretentious about.
Yes, you were. The most. But going back to game night is really helping us actually play games, which is nice.
Yes. And then being able to, all three of us, be vaccinated and back in the studio to where we can actually stream games on the table.
Exactly.
Is also, that's why there's BGG posts again.
Exactly. Yes.
So
I still played games the whole time.
yes, we all know you. And I did too occasionally. 2-player games with Megan.
Oh boy, that's really trying to jump onto that bandwagon, huh?
I was in the middle of the spectrum.
I think Zach was you were at the.
No.
And you were like that.
I was in the middle. I was in the middle solely because a lot of those games were with
me.
So
I feel like there were plenty of weeks where like I had one game, Jeff had 3, and Zach had none. None.
And there was plenty of weeks where Zach and I had a game because we played together and you had none.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You had a lift report.
You had a lift report, sir.
Yeah. That I think that pretty much wraps up everything. Now that we've done the listener feedback.
Correct.
If you would like to get in touch with us, there's a bunch of different ways you can do so. You can send us an email.
Emails at milehighgameguys.com. That's emails at milehighgameguys.com, not email, just in case you were confused.
Yes.
So you need to send multiple. You can't just send the one. It's got to be multiple ones.
The system rejects you if you only send one.
Yeah.
You can also find us over on Twitter where I tweet under at MHGameGuys.
I am Zach_MHGG.
I am Jeff_MHGG.
We have an Instagram account at MHGameGuys. Jeff, did you upload this sweet photo you took of Clinic?
No.
What about any of the Lord of the Rings ones? Did you upload any of those?
Nope.
Okay, cool.
So maybe at some point one of us will get around to starting to upload game pictures back to the.
It's got to be Jeff. I don't have Instagram on my phone.
Insta.
So.
Well, Zach can start putting up our. You know what? We need a Mile High Game Guys TikTok.
Zach does send the most TikTok.
I do,
links.
but I also do. I have no posts on there. I only consume.
We have our Facebook account, facebook.com/MHGameGuys. If you want to give us a like over there. Our website is basically punchboardmedia.com at this point. Go over there, search MHGG or Mile High Game Guys, and you can find our most recent episode posts with show notes that have links to all the different news and Kickstarter items we talk about on the podcast, as well as links to things like our Slack channel, where you can come and enjoy all kinds of ridiculous conversation. I got to advise Matt on tools today. He was like, I'm trying to do a thing with tools, and I don't have the right tools.
We were also talking about bonuses.
Bonuses at work, yep. How they're way, way less ideal than a raise.
Correct.
All kinds of different things that come up.
The goal is to have a bonus and a raise. You should just do that.
Which is usually what happens for everyone at the company, except for the last 2 years, which conveniently we've had new owners the last 2 years. And so hopefully this isn't the new normal. We'll see. Anyhow. You can also find us over on BGG, guild number 2731, where there's now episode posts for the games that we're going to be streaming and the episodes that we're doing. There is still a Q&A thread over there. You can feel free to throw some questions on there. I'm not sure exactly when we're going to do our next Ask Us Anything thread episode thing, but get your questions in. And then that way there will be a whole bunch of them when we go to do that episode. And then... be sure to follow us and maybe consider dropping a Prime subscription if you have Amazon Prime to our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/MHGameGuys. We stream our Monday recordings of the weekly episode. We also stream our Friday board game playthrough streams, or as was the case 2 Fridays ago, our top 10 episode.
Or any of the other, like when we did Dread, we would stream
do
that.
Dread, one shots. When we inevitably do the Q&A, we will do it on Twitch. And so, if you're subscribed or if you're following us on Twitch, you get that notification. you can come jump in the comments and ask us questions like in the moment, follow-up questions to the BGG questions.
Exactly.
All kinds of reasons to make sure and check us out. That's pretty much everything. As always, we'd like to thank this week's episode sponsors, which are you, the fans, over on our Patreon, patreon.com/myhighgameguys. So thank you. And also our Prime sub.
Yes.
And all of our subs on Twitch, because that also helps support the show.
Woo.
That's pretty much everything. Thanks everybody for listening. Hopefully you've enjoyed the show. We'll be back next week. As always, I've been your host, Adrian.
I am still Zach.
And I'm pole position Jeff.
Bye.
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 Punchboard Media, where we all
bring something
to the table.
pull up a chair
at punchboardmedia.com.